This week, it's time for Security Money. The index is back near record highs as the NASDAQ hits a new high. In the leadership and communication segment, boards seeking AI specialists, a CISO's guide to navigating the urgent AI security storm, how to write AI prompts that get results and don't suck, and more. Business Security Weekly starts now.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
It's the show where we explore the business of security to improve the security of business. Your trusted source for actionable insights on leadership, communication, and innovation. Get ready for Business Security Weekly. This podcast is supported by AutoRabbit. You trust Salesforce to power your business, but even the best systems have blind spots. Hidden risk like over-permissioned users, untested code, and missing backups can quietly slip through the cracks. AutoRabbit closes those gaps. Their DevSecOps platform brings automation, governance, and security together so you can build fast and stay protected. Because speed means nothing if you can't trust what you deliver. Visit securityweekly.com/AutoRabbit to learn more. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your business. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. Our Zero Trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots. Just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. Welcome to Business Security Weekly. This is episode number 423, recorded November 18th, 2025, but will air on November 24th, 2025 for Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm your host, Matt Alderman. Joining me for this segment are my co-hosts. First, Miss Summer Fowler. Missed you the last couple weeks.
I know, it's been a wild couple of weeks. How have things been going?
Well, my Buckeyes keep winning. You guys almost upset Indiana at Penn State, which I was hoping for, but didn't happen. Pittsburgh's winning, so you know.
Pittsburgh won, but then Baltimore won, so it didn't help us. So, I mean, we're still up, but you know.
Yeah, the Browns stink, so that's the problem. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Penguins,
Optimist.
the Penguins will. Yeah, it's all right now. And Tennessee won. My daughter's school won, but it was New Mexico State. Big blowout, but a lot of fun for her.
Right. Yes. Also joining me for this interview segment is Josh Marpet. Josh, welcome.
Hey, always a pleasure to be here on your show, Matt. Always.
I love having you on. You've done this Security Money segment with me before, so let's kind of dig into it, right? So as everybody knows, this is our quarterly Security Money segment. This is the end of my 7th year of doing this segment, by the way. This is the Q4. Yeah, I've been doing this for 7 years.
Have you really?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. But it is. So every quarter we talk through the markets. We kind of review where everything's at and go from there. So let's start with some simple facts for this. So first, there are currently no changes to the index. But we know CyberArk was acquired by Palo Alto. The deal has not closed yet. So CyberArk is still trading on the public market. When they leave the public market under the Palo Alto acquisition, my concern was like, all right, that's only 24 companies. Who's going to be the 25th? I got lucky because Netskope went IPO. So yeah, I mean, this happens every time, by the way, because I am literally down to the last 25 pure play publicly traded security companies in this index. When I lose one, if I don't get another one to come back into the market, I won't be at 25 anymore. Like, that's just the reality.
Wait. You're telling me that there's only 25 pure play security companies in the publicly traded market right now? That's it?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah.
With all of the IPOs that we had over the past umpteen years and all of the, they've been valued at $14 gazillion and they just had a cash infusion of 16 trillion shekels or whatever. And there's only 25 pure play security companies on the public market.
Yeah, because
that's interesting.
If Thoma Bravo bought a ton,
That's true.
Yeah.
Remember? They bought
Gobble,
a bunch.
gobble, gobble. Yeah.
Yep. They bought 3 identity players, put 2 of them together and spun one back out. SailPoint went back public. That saved me when SecureWorks got bought. Netskope went public, which will save me when CyberArk comes out of the public trading side, because I don't have Cisco in here and I don't have a few others because I don't consider them pure play cyber companies, right?
Well, I mean, Cisco isn't a technology company anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
They're a
what it is
PE
anymore.
firm. They're not a technology
Tell
company
us how you
anymore.
really feel.
Some of their divisions are technology firms, but they're not a technology firm. They're a PE company. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I will keep the index into next year as long as I don't have somebody else get acquired. All right. So at the close of yesterday, November 17th, the index was sitting at 2798 and 37 cents, which is an increase of 179.84%. It's up from last quarter. It's actually down today. The entire market's pretty much down. I think Tesla is the only, or Palantir is like the only company I saw with any green on it today. The market's going through another bloodbath today. But it has recovered. It didn't hit an all-time high. It's close. The all-time high is like 29.57 or something like that. It got close. It hit like 29.30, 29.40 in this last quarter, but did not get to a new high. I always compare it to the NASDAQ, right? So the NASDAQ closed at 22,708 yesterday. That's an increase of 242%. It also hit an all-time high of 23,958.47 on October 29th. So NASDAQ is still performing better than the index. The index hasn't fully recovered. It took a pretty interesting dip last quarter when I did this show. There was a lot of pressure on the cybersecurity companies and the market, I think, as a whole around valuations. It kind of took a dip. It has recovered, but it hasn't caught back up to the NASDAQ yet. So we're still trending behind them. All right.
Matt, how are you going to handle AI companies moving into the future?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When we get into the private funding rounds and you look at the acquisitions, the whole second segment of the show, Summer, is all about AI. And and we're going to find out why, because there is so much activity both on the funding front and the acquisition front on AI. And so where does AI sit? Is AI its own market? Are there going to be some pure play AI security companies coming out of this? It'll be interesting to see, like, who's the first AI company to go public from a private side? Because a lot of them are getting acquired, actually.
That's right.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw that even in this list that you have for this week, and I mean this quarter. You know, some of the pure play cyber companies gobbling up some of the AI companies.
Right, because they don't want to be hit with the nth party problem. You're our vendor, but you have a vendor of your own. But if you buy it, then it becomes part of a third party, not a fourth, fifth, and sixth party.
Right.
It becomes easier to do the vendor risk management for their customers. But, you know, the real problem is that the AI companies, even if they claim to be 100% cybersecurity focused, pure play, as you so clearly stated, they have to do other things in order to maintain their technology up to speed. They have to do information acquisition, information generation, information analytics. They have to keep their models up to par. So it's interesting to think about which AI companies are actually pure play cyber.
I know. And that's why it's so interesting, right? We'll get there in a few minutes. Let's finish up some of the public stuff.
Sorry.
So no, you're all good. Like, I love the interaction, you guys, you know that. So I look at the previous quarter results, right? So I look at Q3. All the reports are from the previous quarter, right? So I go through all the earnings reports. I track everybody's revenue and profit. And I've done this for 7 years, folks. So I have a lot of data. Revenue beat by 1.65% on average, which is down from last quarter. Here's what I've noticed in the revenue trend. The beats are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There is top line pressure on the market as a whole. There definitely is, because I just see the trends. Like, the beat would be more than 1.65%. It'd be 2, 3, 4, 5%, right? That's coming down, which tells me there's still pressure on the revenue side, pushing down a little bit on the market as a whole. Profit beat was 21.34% on average, which is up from last quarter, which is a trend I continue to see more of. The profitability side of the equation for these companies has increased in general, right? There are still some quarters where companies have a negative earnings, but it used to be very common to be negative profit earnings per share. Like the negative numbers 7 years ago were almost across the board. Now they don't almost exist at all. Like everybody flipped to a profitable model in the public market. It's pretty much a standard now. And that's a trend we've seen, from the downturn, from the pandemic. But I think as we've been in this post-pandemic kind of where's the economy going to go, profitability has stayed top of mind, and we're seeing profit numbers continue to be at a higher than expected average to keep those profitability numbers up. Just interesting trends over the last 7 years.
If you don't mind, I think you can expand that over the last 30 and 40 years. 30, 40 years ago, profitability wasn't as big because the taxes were higher. And so companies were incentivized to reinvest in their company and make their company long-term more stable, smaller profits, but over much longer term, the profits are still monstrous. Okay, high, very high. But now we're very much short-term focused. And because if you don't get, literally C-suites are legally liable if they don't extract every bit of value possible out of the company and their customers every quarter. So, and if you don't have numbers going up, line goes up. If your line doesn't go up, the world is ending, according to a lot of analysts. And that's, to be honest, in my personal opinion, I think that's bad. That's a horrible idea. If you can show reinvestment in the money, not stock buyback, let's be clear, but reinvestment in the company and in a stronger product, a stronger company, a more resilient company, I think those are good things. Okay. If you're profitable, great. But making your company stronger for longer term investment is also a good idea. But I'm weird. What can I say?
No, that's true, because how most of these people are getting profitability. They're doing layoffs.
By layoffs.
Layoffs. That's right.
It's RIFs. Yeah. And we continue to see the layoff trend, right? And we'll cover that here in a couple minutes, but they're eliminating bodies to keep their profit margins there, which is not necessarily reinvesting back in the business potentially, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not. When you lay off 15,000 people, 30,000 people, 20,000 people, when you're talking about people as numbers, first off, it's inhumane. And second off, when you do that, the amount of institutional knowledge, the amount of sheer experience and capability that you're losing is out of this world.
Well, there was the whole discussion on that with the AWS outage, right? And what actually occurred and the discussion around, hey, we lost some institutional knowledge and this is what happens when, right, wrong, or indifferent, if that's what it is, but that's part of the discussion that's going on. And I think you're right. And I also wonder, this focus on the short term, as we're saying, are the investors, are all of us looking at the companies to say, are they reinvesting in themselves and in products and the things that we want, or are they just cutting costs? And I don't think we do enough of that. I really don't think we do.
So I personally do, right? So one of the things I look for in my investment portfolio is dividends. There's not a single one of these 25 companies paying a dividend.
What a brilliant point. What an absolutely brilliant point, Matt. Thank you. That's lovely. Because if they're reinvesting and they're properly utilizing money, there should be at least every once in a while a dividend showing that they're making a slow but steady upwards trend for the company, not just in profit by laying people off, but by that reinvestment, by that stability, by that long-term relationship with their customers. And without dividends, you're going, what are they doing?
Right.
That was absolutely brilliant point.
So in my broad stock portfolio, I have dividend producing stocks in that portfolio. Why? Because if the market goes down, I'm still getting paid. I'm getting paid a dividend, right? So I have a very balanced portfolio that has a lot of dividend stocks in it. And to me, you see some of these profits and you're like, why wouldn't you pay a dividend? Like if you want to become like part of a broader retirement portfolio account, then dividends is a way to get there. And so it goes back to the short-sightedness. I think, Josh, you said a little bit, right? We're all worried about the short-term profits and market. But if we were to take some of those profits, put them into a dividend and expand the reach of the company, you become more stable potentially because you've got a lot of your stock purchased up. You're providing dividends back. There's a play there, right? But I don't see it in the cybersecurity stocks yet, right? I don't. And so I don't have any of these stocks in my portfolio anymore. None. Like I used to, but I don't anymore because I'm trying to look at income production, not necessarily just pure growth. And so I don't carry any of these.
That was a really interesting point. Income versus growth. Mm-hmm. And the days of hyper growth for the sake of growth, piling every dollar you get in to grow, to get more market share, to get more accounts, users, to get more of everything, so that then you can be an acquisition target, it's getting a little old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, like I said, been doing this so long, I just see this stuff, right? So a couple more stats here. Best performing stocks, Rubrik again, NetScout and SailPoint. Worst performing Cloudflare, Verint again, and SentinelOne. SentinelOne was interesting. They had a pretty big miss on profitability. Like it was like 300% miss or something like that. It was big. It was just completely out of whack. The average analyst rating is 1.79, which is a moderate buy. It's down. It's been ticking down. Like the overall ratings for these stocks are moving away from buy to more of a moderate buy, which is moving closer to a hold scenario for this on average. Again, it's just the pressures of the cybersecurity stocks, I think. I continue to see that trend. Best rated stocks, Zscaler again. Rubrik, NetScout, and Palo Alto Networks. Worst rated, Akamai, Verint, and Fastly. So if you're interested in knowing who's rated well, and some of these names have been on these lists before, right? Like Zscaler has traditionally been high rated. Palo Alto Networks is doing a ton of work acquisition wise and other things. They've become a behemoth. So, CrowdStrike's always been around, but CrowdStrike's price point is really, really high. I mean, they're back over 500 a share. It's kind of hard to make that investment, when they pull back, that's probably when you do it. But I mean, at over $500 a share, man, it's kind of hard to dip into that stock some days.
Yeah. Cloudflare had an outage this morning, so
they did.
We'll see what you're saying about Q4 for them.
Exactly right. Yeah. One of the websites I was going to this morning couldn't get there because Cloudflare was down out of the Dallas data center. So
yeah, they're not having a good day.
Well, then F5 had that issue earlier this quarter. What was that, a month or so back? F5 had a pretty big incident.
AWS had that issue.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Azure, AWS.
Azure.
Yeah.
There have been a lot.
Or have been. So Netskope went public on September 18th. The initial price was $19. It closed yesterday at $19.33. It was higher. It was up over 20, but it's settled back down. But thank you, Netskope, for going public so I can keep the index going next year. Awesome. A few layoffs. Microsoft, 9,000 employees. F5, just over 100, and Cisco, 221. But the one key highlight out of the public market was Zscaler raising $1.5 billion in debt. It's interesting for a public company to raise debt, right? Like you're a public company, you raise as part of that. You've got all the stock out there. Why raise debt? Probably because they could get a good rate and they're probably going to use it for acquisitions. But it just, when I see public companies do this, it just I flag it and I'm like, wait, why did they do that? They could have sold more stock to raise that money if they wanted to, but they used a debt vehicle to do it. So wondering if they're going to use this to make some acquisitions.
Yeah.
So I know this isn't in your article list. I apologize, but you know what Goldman Sachs said, that 1.1 million layoffs in 2025 pushed 15% of unemployed into gig work, Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, that kind of thing. I know that a lot of them aren't tech workers, but 1.1 million layoffs in 2025. We're not even done with 2025 yet. Like Verizon's 15,000 is next week.
Right. Right. Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right. So let's get into the private company side. We're still seeing decent funding rounds here, right? Like there's money coming in, but it's interesting who's getting the money, in my opinion, right? So you've got the big ones, Cato Networks at 359 million. No one's going to let Cato go under. Vanta, 150 million. Nobody's going to let Vanta go under, right? There's so much money invested in them. Safe Security, 70 million. But the interesting part of the Safe Security deal, that money is not coming from the U.S. They had to go out to foreign markets to raise that money, which is an indicator of the challenges, I think, of raising money right now for a lot of these companies. You'll see as you get towards the bottom of the list, all the smaller rounds, because I only track 20 million and up, all those rounds sub 50 million, they're almost all AI inspired security companies, almost all of them.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is, we saw Oracle with last quarter with the layoffs and some, and I'm talking about from an AI standpoint, their relationship with CoreWeave, and CoreWeave was basically cut in half. Their stock went from like 140, it was at 70 something today. And so that AI side of things, I think that we're going to see a roller coaster. We can raise a lot of money, but I don't know how long things are going to stay up, just because there isn't profitability, right? So we're going to be watching that.
The profitability of AI companies is obviously, like, it's negative. It's beyond negative. It's so far negative, it's terrifying. And yet they're sucking down money like crazy, because everybody's like, all right, so it's like it's cloud. Because remember, they go back to Bitcoin and blockchain, cryptocurrency. Like, or we threw lots of money at that. And if you're still holding and you've kept your keys and you held throughout, all that money you locked up, it's still locked up because you're praying that Bitcoin goes to 500,000 or whatever insanity Tether drags it to next. And, but there's literally been nothing like this in terms of AI. Everybody goes, this is cool. This is neat. And it is. It's cool. It's neat. Don't get me wrong. I use it every day. I just used it, by the way, to add, Matt, I've got to tell you this just for sheer curiosity. I asked Gemini what pure play information security companies are publicly traded in the US, and it came up with 14. It couldn't even find 25.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So you did really well. You did better than Gemini. But anyway,
I'm going to ask that list. I want to compare it. I want to see how it compares to Matt's list.
I'll throw it in the chat in just a second. But the idea that AI companies are going to turn that corner, and with efficiency, everybody thinks Moore's law. Every 18 months, it's going to get twice as fast. That way, obviously, my electricity bill won't be as high. And NVIDIA will turn out things that are less, that are less money or more efficient, or get more capacity out of the same amount of money. And I got bad news for you. There's a limit. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And there's an aging problem with the data in these models, which is the other thing, right? Because you constantly have to update the models with the latest and greatest information. So there's a trailing data component to this. Look, I've seen some very interesting uses for AI. We've done some really interesting integration work with some of our partners that do some really cool things, but they're not replacing most humans anytime soon. Right? So Gemini says 14, I say 25. I've been training models. My results are still better than the AI. So I still have a job. But the good news for me is I'm going to retire soon. So by the time it gets well enough to replace me, I'm out anyways. So we're all good. Pretty soon I'll type my show notes into AI, and it will just generate the video and audio content for me, and I won't even have to show up.
That's perfect. You should all make sure, though, that for Jason and I, it pulls in all the sports scores.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that happens.
And put some favorite. Yeah.
There's enough video of me out there now that I'm pretty sure I could probably...
You could easily be deep faked. Yes, it's not a problem.
Yeah, it won't be a problem.
But here's the thing. You're right about the information aging. There's also the fact that the information is generationally getting digested over and over again.
Yeah.
The first flush of AI was getting raw information all over the internet. Then everybody went, oh, you can't have my information. You can't screen scrape. You can't grab my databases, and started putting them behind paywalls. Then somebody would steal it from behind a paywall and feed it into their AI. And now what you're getting is you're getting pre-digested AI slop, getting digested as fresh information by AI. It's going to change. It's going to change the quality of the answers you get back. It's going to change the quality of the models. And for the worse, just to be clear, it's going to change it for the worse. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Let's finish out the private stuff, and then I want to get into the AI article. No, you're good. No, come on. Like, this is fun. First of all, it's my show. I've been doing this for 7 years. We can run it however we want, Josh. It's okay. Acquisitions in Q3 on the private side. A couple interesting ones. TrustWave by Level Blue. Remember, TrustWave had a deal on the table with Cybereason that got completely blown up like 2 quarters ago, right? So Level Blue picks them up, probably because they didn't have much of a choice. Interesting. If you notice, there's also a number of acquisitions, and it's like a tit for tat. It's CrowdStrike makes an acquisition, then SentinelOne makes an acquisition, then CrowdStrike makes another one, then SentinelOne makes another one. There are 5 acquisitions on the private side, mostly AI driven, between SentinelOne and CrowdStrike. Just interesting. Like, they're just gobbling stuff up, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Well, the consolidation is not new, let's be honest.
No, that's true. But it's just very interesting to see kind of the back and forth. Anytime one makes a move, the other one counters the move and continues to move forward. It's just this really interesting dynamic between those two companies right now. So just, again, observations. All right. That's pretty much it on the funding side. I think the only other thing in my notes was SNCC had about a 10% layoff on the private side. I know they've been rumored to get ready to go IPO. I'm surprised they haven't gone yet. So
yeah, I thought it was supposed to be Q3. That was the rumor was Q3 because you rarely see Q4s. So maybe they're waiting till Q1, Q2 next year and just doing their reduction.
Well, they might be waiting out the market a little bit. I mean, like, the market for IPOs is not that hot right now.
Right.
Funding in general. I mean, you went over funding. I'm going to drag us back to funding for just a second. But your point about you can't find funding in the U.S. or whichever company it was you said couldn't find funding in the U.S. We talked about this before the show. You can't find funding in the U.S. right now if you're not already funded by 70 other investment groups. Or you're the latest hype train. I just talked to, as a matter of fact, B-Sides Delaware, my conference just finished. I had a gentleman that was there. He had spent 2 years with a team of 7 people building a very nice little AI-based app, and they just shut their doors because they could not get acquired. They could not get acquired. They could not get funded. And he said, I went and I tried, and I said, your app has pretty good product market fit. He's like, yep, but we weren't already funded. So everybody said, nope, not happening this week. So it's possible that SNCC is just waiting out the market until the funding blooms again, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, the market was at an all-time high like a week ago.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had like 4 or 5 days of pullback, but all the markets peaked like a week ago. Right. And so the market in general has been great, but the underlying economy is still kind of, So You're right. I think a lot of people are kind of playing the wait and see game. Do we get consistent growth? Do we see the markets consistently going up? Do we get some resolution to some of the unknowns in the economy? And if we do, then I could see the IPO market in a very high market being advantageous, but we've only seen Netskope this year really come out. Sale Point earlier this year. So I think we've seen 2 this year.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Nothing in Q2.
Yeah.
Right.
AI gives attackers superpowers, and your employees are the soft target. Flip the script with Fable Security, the modern human risk platform. Fable's powerful risk engine connects the dots on human vulnerabilities, like password hygiene, phishing risk, and data sharing and generative AI, and deploys hyper-targeted snackable AI nudges and briefings, just in time, right where your people work. The result? Hard outcomes. 13x faster behavior change, 60 to 90% risk reduction. Make Fable part of your cybersecurity story. Visit securityweekly.com/Fable. Every AI workflow in your enterprise touches sensitive data. Customer names, email addresses, financial records. One wrong move and you're facing a compliance nightmare. Enter Area, the enterprise AI orchestration and security platform built to protect what matters most. With Area, you don't have to compromise between speed and innovation or security and governance. Quickly deploy AI without cutting corners on compliance. Give your teams the confidence to adapt AI with Area. Stop gambling with your most sensitive information. Visit securityweekly.com/area to see it in action. That's securityweekly.com/AIRIA. So all my articles today are all linked to AI. And again, I did this on purpose. I've been accumulating these articles because when you look at what's going on with funding and acquisitions, it's all around this AI component, right? Like the hype is there. I was reading an article this morning. People are in it. I watch the markets every day, and people are like, they're trying to figure out is the AI hype real or not real. So people are, kind of placing their bets in different ways. But there's a ton of pent up articles on this topic, and so the first one I thought was really, really interesting. Board seeking AI specialists. So think about this for a second, Summer, right? We've been talking on business security forever about CISOs and security experts on the board. And here we have boards seeking out AI specialists, which is interesting. Like it's actually, they're more interested in an AI specialist than they are in a cybersecurity specialist at the board level.
How many years did we ask them to have cybersecurity expertise on the board? And then all of a sudden in the last, 2 years, we've got to have an AI specialist on the board.
So you know what? I mean, when I think about this, because as I was reading this, I honestly think it's still because that the cybersecurity is viewed as that expense and AI is viewed as something that's going to make them money. And so
that's a brilliant point.
So really what I think is happening is it's like, look, cybersecurity, bad things are going to happen. They are happening. They happen all the time, no matter how much money we throw at the problem. And it's still something that costs us money. If I get an AI expert, that AI expert is going to make me money. Hopefully
not take down your network or cause some other breach, but yes.
Exactly. Well, that's part of it is there's a huge cyber consideration, a huge legal all of the other things that fall underneath of AI that need to come into play with this. But it's short term.
So what I'm hearing is we just need to rename everything that we've been telling them are table stakes security for years as AI EDR, AI, MFA. AI this, and all of a sudden they'll fund every project we've got.
Hey, it might work.
I'm joking.
Let's give it a whirl. Let's see what happens.
Don't go there. I'm going to hurt you. Oh my God, Summer.
No, but Josh, people are already going there.
I know.
Okay. I mean, you said it, but it's already happening. There's a bunch of marketing people out there going, hey, all I got to do is throw AI in front of this or behind this or put a .ai on it and I'm good. And that leads to some challenges for us as leaders in the industry because it's not that simple or easy.
It's not simple or easy in any way, shape, or form. AI is absolutely useful. Just for an example, the SOC analyst tools that you're able to ask questions about vulnerabilities, or it's able to collate information into one place instead of flipping through 70 tabs. Okay. If you see a SOC analyst with less than 100 tabs open, they're no good at their job. I'm kidding. Don't do that. But the point is that there are things that AI can do. And I say this 1,000 times. AI can collate. It can correlate. It can contextualize. It cannot causate. Okay. And only human, and that's not a word. I know grammarians are about to yell at me. Don't, okay? Just don't. It was cool. It works. It's alliterative. But wisdom comes from humans still. But AI is great as an assistant. And if you think of it as a research assistant, if you think of it as an organizational assistant, it's fantastic. All right? When we think of it as it can do the job on its own, that's where we fall down. And that's where businesses are going to have major problems, because when you get rid of this institutional memory by laying off gazillions of workers, 1.1 million this year, and when you bring in AI and expect it to make you money, it can make you money. It can bring you efficiencies. It can bring you speeding up of processes. It can bring you a lot of things. But what it cannot do is think of new lines of business on its own. What it cannot do is go out and find new clients and land them on its own. What it cannot do is it can tell you, hey, those events look correlated, but it can't tell you why.
Right.
And so it's difficult because we have to understand these things.
And the way I would say it is that it's a solution looking for a problem right now, right? And it doesn't
Bingo.
have the business context. Now, frankly, I think that's been a problem with a lot of cybersecurity programs, where cybersecurity for cybersecurity's sake is being built up instead of understanding the cybersecurity that's needed for that business. AI is going to have the exact same problem, and the leaders in the businesses need to understand, the AI is not there right now where it can say, hey, this is all the cool stuff I can do for you. You still have to know what you want it to do for you. And I think that, we have this gap area, and AI will get there someday. It'll be
Use
awesome.
cases?
Yeah.
You need business use cases for technology? Come on.
Come on.
Just you slather a thick layer of AI on, your stock price jumps,
Yes.
you sell your stock, then you walk away and let the company collapse. What's the problem, Summer?
Well, there isn't a problem if I'm on an island somewhere, I guess, enjoying the rest
there
of
we
my
go.
life.
Right. Disconnected from the internet.
Exactly.
It's like, do you remember the iced tea company back in 2019 or 2018, I think it was, that added blockchain to their name, and their stock, for whatever reason, they were a publicly traded
gosh.
company. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is a true story. They added blockchain to their name and their stock jumped 400% overnight. They had nothing to do with blockchain. They had nothing to do with cryptocurrency. They didn't even take it to buy their stuff. They just said, what the hell? Let's add it to our name. They did. Their stock jumped 400%. Since if you add AI to your name now, your stock will jump. This is the definition of hype and potentially the definition of bubble. I'll leave that one alone.
No, I agree with you 100%. All right, article number 2. Jargon is hurting your strategy. Yes, especially when you just throw around some very interesting TLAs when it comes to AI. The first thing I thought of was MCP, Model Context Protocol, which has an article in here, by the way. Most people have no idea what Model Context Protocol is, and it's one of the underlying infrastructure components of AI. And nobody understands it because nobody's defined it. Nobody's figured out how to use it and talk about it in a way that people understand. We attempted to do that a couple of weeks ago on this show when we talked about some of the challenges around Model Context Protocol. There is an article in here on this as well. But it's these types of things that it can hurt your long-term strategy because people don't understand what the heck you're saying.
Jargon is always going to be a problem. Look, we all have jargon. That's fine. But that's why we have parentheses to put the definitions in the middle. Okay. And if you're trying to make a business use case, use less jargon. If you're trying to make people understand why you need X, Y, and Z, whether it's MFA, EDR, or AI, use less jargon. All right. Now, there's jargon that we use so we understand we're using the same terms, so we make sure that we're speaking apples to apples. That's fine. But when you're speaking cross boundaries from technology to business, from IT to security, that's a boundary. Let's be clear. Okay. We speak most of the same language, but not quite the same. We're cousins. Okay. You have to use language that people will get across. The Model Context Protocol is a great one. I think of Model Context Protocol as effectively an API for AI.
Yeah.
That's my personal definition of it in my own head. And if you say, oh my God, you're an idiot, that's fine. I'll listen. You can tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I'll learn something from listening, but that's mine.
Yeah. And honestly, your strategy to get to your goals is going to have a little bit of the technology focus, but you're really looking at outcomes. That's what you should really be looking for, are the outcomes that you want. And so that doesn't have to have any of the jargon in it. And that's one of the ways that you really can sell is to speak in the language of the business, right? I mean, we've heard that preached over and over and over.
Yep.
I have to say one quick thing. If you're ever working at a company and the leader is using verbiage and jargon to make them less clear, so that they are shedding liability and risk off themselves. But you understand, you just go do it. And and you're like, wait, I need to define this to cover my ass. Find another job. That's not leadership. Well, anyway.
Yes. Yes, definitely not leadership. All
I
right,
do
next.
need to jump in here, Matt. I looked it up. It's Long Island Iced Tea became Long Blockchain Corp in 2017, Josh.
I wasn't wrong.
No.
How much did their stock go up?
This is I don't know. I don't know. I didn't go that deeply into it. I just did a quick search, but that's amazing. Long Blockchain Corp. And Long Island iced teas were my favorite drink in college, so not Long Blockchain. Just so you know.
Of course, they're awesome.
They're all full of booze.
Yes, exactly. Most value for my buck at Peter's Pub at the University of Pittsburgh.
Heck yeah.
Come on.
Oh God, the days gone by. Okay.
Yep. Oh, we're still going. Next article, CISO's Guide to Navigating the Urgent AI Security Storm. I break this article down into asset discovery and classification. Yeah, we were really, really bad at this. So we've been horrible at doing this forever. So now we have to do it for all of our AI systems. So we're already hosed. Then we have to figure out, do those have known vulnerabilities and look at the potential underlying source code and third-party components there. Yeah, we're really bad at TPRM. So that's thing number 2. And then we have to figure out how to integrate all this into our continuous monitoring. Oh, yeah, we're really bad at continuous control monitoring too. So I don't know how we get through all of this.
Okay. The urgent AI security storm. Look, I've been answering this question as an Eins faculty member for literally years now, and shadow AI is a nasty, nasty problem. Okay, dealing with, look, it goes back, God, in the 90s. I had salespeople go, I bought a wireless access point and I put it under my desk and plugged it in. Now I can do wireless all over the office on my laptop, right? I mean, it's the same exact damn thing. If you tell people we're not going to let you do your job, they're going to figure out a way to do their damn job faster, easier, and better. And AI can help them with that. But the problem is now we're putting customer data out there and intellectual property and all sorts of fun things. So shadow AI is dangerous as hell. And by the way, I'm skimming the article and some of it is use CASBs to find what they're doing. And the answer is, I'm terribly sorry, but that's not sufficient.
No.
It's so easy to just go, oh, really? Click. Hey, Gemini, would you OCR that for me? And
yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to do the click. Let's be honest. In most companies, we don't know what our data should be classified as, who should have access to it, who we're allowing to have access to it, let alone now letting agentic, agents have access to it, change it and put it back into either our ecosystem or someone else's. So now we might have an entirely new classification of data that we have to worry about, but we haven't dealt with the original. So, it's not even a matter of necessarily shadow. It's just we haven't gotten a handle on how we've allowed people to use the data right now.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. We're bad at asset management. We're bad at looking at source code and third-party risk. We're bad at continually control monitoring. So, these are still major gaps in our industry, and this is what you tell me I need to do to get around my shadow AI problems? We're horrible at that. So unless I see a new class of systems that make this super, super easy, we're in a world of hurt, folks.
Or maybe we all pause and try to train the AI to do the things we're really bad at. And then we can start moving, hey, I've talked to a couple of different small companies and startups about, can you come in with your AI tool and monitor how data is being used at the company and tell us how it should be classified and do it in real time? So it doesn't have to be a label. It could be just a real-time wrapper around it. I would love to have tools that could do that and use AI for good, not just AI for blockchain style profitability.
Right.
There are companies building lots of AI tools. Some of them are really ingenious. Some of them are perfect. Some of them are so proper. and useful, and they're designed around efficiency, things that AI is actually really good at.
Right.
Okay. Anomalous data analysis. It can do some really good stuff there. Especially simplistic analysis that is tedious as hell for a human to do.
Yeah.
But it can do it, boom, just like that.
Yeah.
Data collation. These are wonderful things for AI to do. But when you try to make it, I call it AI. People think of AI as FM. I'll say that M stands for magic, and I'm not telling you what F stands for. But it's not magic friggin' pixie dust, okay, people? It is not just sprinkle it over and all of a sudden it knows everything you need it to know, and it does. Come on, for God's sakes. AI is dangerous as hell to just give access to data without controls. See, I mean, I say this, and I'll probably get trouble for this, but Microsoft M365 Copilot, in my opinion, is the largest insider threat vector known to mankind.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay.
Because most organizations have not classified the data and figured out how to not allow it to be consumed by Copilot. And therefore, if I want to know what the salary of all my employees are, I could potentially go find it because there's no guardrails. Yeah.
What's the layoff list look like?
Yeah.
I mean, there's danger there. Okay?
There is. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we're just going to roll out, Copilot for security. Great. So give me a list of all files that have been scanned by Defender in the past week that have the title payroll in them. Interesting. Like,
yeah. I mean, Jason's talked about this. Like, a lot of people wanted to roll out Copilot, but they weren't prepared to give it access to all this stuff because they had no idea the sensitivity of the data.
I love this. It's a really quick story. I talked to one company and they said, we gave our admins Copilot. And I went, what?
Oh.
And they said, what do you mean? What's the problem? I said, okay, your domain admin has Copilot. They said, yes. I'm like, M365 Copilot. Yes. I said, okay, he asks a question of Copilot. He has access to every bit of information in the domain. So when he asks, hey, who's on the layoffs list? It will answer from the CEO's email. And they went, wait, that's not, I'm a domain admin.
Yep.
And then, well, but the CEO will find out. Nope, because it happens on the M365 side, not on the local side.
Yeah.
Right.
And they went, oh God, we need to, and they just cut the call. It was hilarious. Anyway, so like this is dangerous stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I can't say it enough.
It is.
Modern attacks don't just hit devices, they target your users to gain access to Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. And when those platforms go down, it's not just email, it's your entire business. That's why there's Kaseya 365 User, one unified platform that protects your users and SaaS applications. Phishing, credential leaks, insider risks, it stops them all. Learn more and schedule a demo at securityweekly.com/K365.
Talking about dangerous stuff, this is the CISO's Guide to Model Context Protocol. I was going to add this article 2 weeks ago when we did this segment, and I forgot to add it in there. So I added it here. It's a good reference to the conversation we had on BSW 421. Yeah, two Mondays ago, around the security challenges of Model Context Protocol. Up until like May of this year, you didn't even have to authenticate to an MCP server. Like, it wasn't even in the protocol. Like, so folks, this is the backbone of AI, of agentic AI. This is how agentic AI talks to other AI components. This is going to be the infrastructure behind anything you build or use from an AI perspective, and nobody knows what the heck it is or how to secure it. Just saying.
By the way, we talked about identity earlier, right? Just mentioned it, I think.
Yeah.
Something that I don't think is even, I just skimmed the article really quick. By the way, it's really nice. They have some lovely stuff in there. One thing they don't even mention is the fact that when you use an API, you're asking a machine to use its identity, a non-human identity, an NHI or service account, to get data from another machine, right? API endpoint to API endpoint. That's fine, or API gateway or whatever. When you use an AI, MCP server, you're asking a machine to use its NHI, non-human identity, paired with your identity, because it has to know what you have access to, and your credentials, your authorization tickets, okay, assuming Kerberos, to go talk to another machine and hand over your credentials and Kerberos tickets to that machine. I don't see any problems with that at all.
Nope. Because if you don't do that, then you have access to anything, actually. So think about that.
Yeah,
I'm just
let's
saying. So
open up all the
NHI.
ports. Let's just do whatever. I mean, the other thing that's fundamentally going to come down to is there's no auditability here, right? So if
Bingo.
you are in any sort of regulated industry, you really have to take pause because you're going to be violating all kinds of issues with audits that are happening. And so all of this that we're having with these AI discussions comes back to governance. And the organizations need to take a step back, think about the governance structure so that they can get the right processes in place and start asking the right questions. And
Yeah.
again, I'm an AI fan. I love it. I want
Right.
to see all of this. I think that none of us are saying don't do it. What we're saying is, proceed with caution and proceed with the diligence that you need for anything else.
Can you imagine NYDFS with this? Oh my God.
You're right. Right.
So that's a beautiful segue into this next article. When working with AI, act like a decision maker, not a tool user, right? To your point, Summer, right? We have to make decisions around the use cases, how to protect this, not just the cool factor of being a tool user. Hey, let me just use this stuff. You got to think about the consequences. You have to be in a decision-making capacity, not just the user of the tool at the end of the day, because we'll all look. I've done some really cool tests of what different LLMs and AI models can do. It can do some really cool stuff. Like I've shared this before. I took a screenshot of our executive dashboard, sent it through ChatGPT and said, summarize this for Chief Financial Officer. Super accurate, right? Like that's a really cool use case. That's great. But am I going to go wire this up in my product so any client could do it? Do they want to do that? Like, you have to think about this in a more broader context. Even the stuff we're doing to make things efficient, LLMs are really good at taking a regulation in PDF and breaking it down into its subcomponents and identifying the controls. That's great because I can use that data to now automatically create the regulatory framework. Well, that saves me a ton of time. So there are great use cases out there, but if you don't think about the whole end to end of how you're going to use this stuff and the potential security concerns or challenges, not only internally, but externally to your client, you're going to get yourself in trouble really, really fast.
AI is something I use as an assistant. AI is something that I use to help me do things. You know what? I don't need to learn that particular Excel formula. Can you write me an Excel formula that will do this? Okay. And I know I'm going to do it once, maybe twice in my life. I don't care. Okay. Could I spend the 4 hours? Yes, but I'd rather spend the time with my kids. Okay. So I'll have it write it for me. But when you do something that is just totally abdicating your position as a human brain and try to hand it to an AI, number one, it's only going to do it intermittently. And number two, bad choice.
There's also an element of, I always tell my teams, your value to the company isn't measured by how hard you work. It's measured by the impact that you have, right? And I think we've sort of lost our minds with that when it comes to AI. We like to see the wheels turning and the cog and everything going on. And oh my gosh, I now have a summary of that last meeting. Look how cool this is. It's working really hard for us. But are we seeing the impact that we need to see? And I don't think we've done enough to either define the impact or to actually root through and say, are we getting the impact that we want? Now it's new and it's sexy, and maybe this is just the first stumbling block. But I do think business leaders who are listening start to really focus in on the impact and outcomes, not just the outputs, because the outputs are vast.
Summer. It sounds like you don't want your people in the office chained to their desks for 9 hours a day. What's wrong with you, lady? Come on.
Everyone
you care about what
to
they
office.
do?
Come on, return to office. No, just kidding. No, that is exactly right. Right? It's the impact. It's not the working hard. I mean, you hear it all the time from people. I worked so hard. Well, you didn't get the results that we need. And so let's think about how we can work differently and smarter. Let's work smarter.
I'll give you a really good example, right? I'm seeing a lot of developers use AI tools to build their code. Their code is okay, but the challenge is they don't understand why the code does what it does, right? We've like lost the understanding of the code. And what do I mean by that? The impact to me is I'm getting less secure, more unknown code, which isn't helping me speed things up, but people are trying to use AI tools to try to speed things up, but I'm not getting a better output yet, right? It's a really good example of what you just said, Summer, because I see a ton of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all thought Y2K was scary. Wait until nobody can read all of the AI code.
Yeah, right.
Oh God, don't go there. That's terrifying.
And then the AI gets smart enough to lie to us and tell us something wrong.
You know,
Yeah.
I just got back from OWASP AppSec Global. For CRA, I did the interviews down there, and one of the gentlemen that I talked to had I forget which one it was, but he had an interesting point about the definition of developers changing. It was the developer was the person who wrote the code. The definition of developer, he says in 2 years, this is going to be the definition, is the person who does the functional decomposition of the problem and feeds it to the AI, and the code comes out, and then they QA the results of the code, not necessarily the code itself. So now you've got the fact that developer is not going to be actually able to write code anymore.
So you know what's interesting about that is I actually think that's the way it should be done. But what's scary about it is, and I've seen this as I've taught in multiple universities, we don't teach logic anymore. We don't teach that critical thinking. And one of my favorite classes was with Wacky Novaki. I'm hoping somehow this gets back to him, George Novaki. We called him Wacky Novaki. He taught a logic and design for programming. And it was literally logic puzzles, right? And we were learning logic problems and logic puzzles and learning how to decompose things and debug things before we ever wrote a line of code. And it actually is true. I want AI to write the code. I don't want to have to remember the syntax and is there a semicolon at the end of this and how does the for loop look in this language compared to that? No, I want to do the design and then I want, the AI to put it into whatever language it is, but I have to be able to then test it and audit it and do all of those things. So I think that's the ideal world. What's scary to me is we've stopped teaching that problem solving. And so to universities out there, and even earlier, middle school, high school, teach the logic because it's critical.
Yeah. It's a good point. I remember one of my first classes on my computer engineering side was assemblers. Like we had to build an assembler. We had to understand how register shifts worked.
Yes.
To write an assembler. Like how many students now have to write their own assembler?
Oh, but none almost.
My guess is none. That was Comp E 101. You had to go you had to write your own assembler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Own operating systems then. Beyond that, we were writing it all. In fact, I gave the graduation speech at the University of Pittsburgh's graduate school for Comp Sci, where I graduated, and I did it last year. And I said to the students, the most exciting part of it all was being in the room with my assembly professor from 20 plus years ago and not crying, because I think I cried every day. When I was in his class, but it was the stuff we suffered through and really knew how it worked.
Right.
And we need to know how these things work, and then give the language and all of that stuff to the AI to do it. That's how we should be operating. Yeah.
That kind of ties into this last article quickly, which is all about AI prompts and how to build better prompts, because that's kind of the new language for these AI models, right? And so if we don't understand how to write a good AI prompt, we're going to get really, really bad results. So this article, Science of the People, we had Vanessa Van Edwards on a few years ago. I always track her site, and she, at times, she has some great communication, different articles. This one really intrigued me because it's like actually talking about what are the good qualities of an AI prompt and how to build them and what's bad. Like, it's a really great article if you want to understand what are AI prompts and like how should I use them to get the results that I want. This article does a really great job breaking this down.
Yeah. I think that article is great. And I went out and searched. MIT has classes on this.
Oh,
I mean, not like formal, register for the class, but on their website for their students, through their, learning technologies, how to write a better prompt. And so this is coming up. There are all kinds of apps that do this, and I think that's exactly right. It's so if you understand the logic and you understand what you want to do, then you do need to translate it into the right prompt to get what you want out of the AI. So it's going to be a different way of operating, and frankly, I'm excited about it.
Well, you've also got Reddit has a prompt engineering subreddit. There's like 5 different prompt engineering subreddits, and the idea here is how do you write something that is detailed enough to get exactly what you want, while staying within the context token limits, and staying within something that will actually provide and the functionality of the specific model that you're using. And there's a lot of different variables and sliders and switches and stuff in there. And it's a really good article. It's really well done. And it makes a lot of sense. Look, this is, what do we call it? Google Foo for however long, And this is going to be your prompt foo.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Summer, I emailed Novaki your comments.
Please, thank you. That's wonderful.
You're welcome. I found his email. I Googled George Novaki. I spelled it wrong, but it corrected me. George Novaki's comp sci instructor, and it came up University of Pittsburgh, and
that's amazing.
His email was there, so I emailed him.
Oh, thank you so much. He was wonderful.
You're very welcome.
So when you're when this posts next week, we'll have to send him a link to the show so he can see it live.
Absolutely. So I will tell you a story about prompts and struggles that I had. So several years ago, I wrote a children's book, neither here nor there, but it was illustrated by the publisher because it was very expensive to hire an illustrator, and I never loved it. And earlier this year, I said I want to illustrate this with AI because I wanted to learn how to use AI. Holy cow. I tried a ton of different tools. I'll give props out to the one that I ended up using that recently got bought. It was Dzine, DZINE.ai, the one that I used. It had consistent characters. But as I was writing the prompts and saying, it's a book about rabbits. And I said, the third rabbit over should have a blue hat. The AI could not understand what the third rabbit over was. So every rabbit got a blue hat. So it was many, many hours of pain and a lot of swearing to get what I wanted. And honestly, what was the problem? It was me. I wasn't giving the prompts that the AI understood. And so I think that this lesson around the prompting is interesting. I think it's also going to be interesting because how are prompts going to change as AI itself changes, right? So how do we stay on top of that as AI gets better and better? Are the prompts going to change? So in any event, this is part of the excitement I have around AI and figuring out how to use it and what it can be great for.
So at the end of all this, I might have to come up with an AI index to track some of these companies, but I'm going to have to get some public first before I can do it, because otherwise I won't have enough for my index. Josh, Summer, thank you so much for joining me on Business Security Weekly. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. We'll see you next week on Business Security Weekly.